Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Living the Line. I'm Carson Grubaugh.
I'm Brandon Graham.
What have you got for us today? You've got something special.
Oh yeah, I've got a show and tell for you of a little book called The Transmutations of Ike Garuda by Elaine
Okay.
Lee and James Sherman.
Never heard of it and never heard of these creators. What
Elaine
year
Lee,
is
you might
this?
know, she worked with Michael Kaluta on Starstruck,
Okay.
and
I know
James
the
Sherman
property.
did some superhero comics. I mostly knew him from Dreadstar, the kind of epic comics, and this is an epics comics thing as well.
Okay.
It has this strange thing that I don't know if I've ever quite figured out why or how it went about, but there's a photograph of somebody that looks like the main character on the back in an interview that has nothing to
Interesting.
do with the rest of the comic.
This looks good though.
This is a fantastic comic.
That's a
Um,
badass cover.
yeah, so it's like a detective, it's science fiction detective comic. You can see on the left here, it came out in 1991. So it really, one of the major aspects of it really delves into this idea of like transporter technology and essentially how they kill you. Like here, he's lying in this tube here, and he's having the computer read. He's telling it to count back from 100, and it shows his body being destroyed,
Whoa.
and
That's
then the
awesome.
information being sent across space, and him being rebuilt.
Okay, like go back to the first page. I really like how they just colored on that lettering on the bottom panel that he's looking at, like on the inside of the tube he's in.
Yeah, it is really cool.
That's really nice. And then on the next page, that big face, we were just talking about Raphael Grandpa. That looks like a Matt Lesniewski, Raphael Grandpa, and who's the third one? Ian Bertram.
Yeah, it really does.
Those three guys they all kind of came off of Frank Quietly, and they took that Moebius Tiki Mark thing and the Frank Quietly. That's crazy. That looks so much like their art.
Yeah, I really like this guy's anatomy, and also the the muscle penis on the third panel there is
Yeah. You got a good anatomy book.
yeah, but I really like this people always talk about the horror of Star Trek that when you do the teleporter, they're killing you every time, and this
Yeah.
really really points that out. And so
And
across
then
the
the
universe,
blur.
reborn, yeah, and they play with some really interesting things in this about like one of the cool aspects of it is when you are being transported to different areas. Um, people can manipulate your memories too. So he has like a blank in his memory that he's always trying to figure out, like, why do I not remember this section of my life? And he keeps calling it like an itch.
Because they're able to like the molecules in the brain that would have they just didn't reconstruct or whatever.
Yeah, like they left out a memory of his. And
Oh,
really, I
that
like the right hand side of the page where he dries off his head with a towel and then throws in this thing that disintegrates it.
that's a great like rhythmic sequence, and it kind of has like a up and down wave to it. Yeah, that's the kind of rhythmic and like just implied line stuff that I really like in comics. And then that blur, it's really cool to see them. They're going pretty much straight color with no line in that transition where he's like waking up and things are solidifying.
Yeah. Oh, something interesting about this too is people have their jobs often tattooed on them. Like he's talking about how there's a courier mark above this guy's eye, and then at one point he's a detective in this, and he goes and impersonates someone else, and he tattoos himself to impersonate the other person because all their ranks are tattooed because their bodies are so disposable.
So it's a pretty like fleshed out world.
Yeah, yeah. This is him visiting this femme fatale lady, and they're in this weird roller coaster thing going over lava.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
And then
on
the
that
lava
page,
lamp in there.
yeah, just like a giant lava lamp too.
Oh yeah,
It's a
because they're
cool spread.
wow, whoa, look at that's a badass shot.
Yeah, and this is him just talking about having how part of his memory was erased because they must have teleported him somewhere else, and then before releasing him, and he doesn't remember it.
Is the it's all everything's by the artist or is there a colorist?
Good question. Let me go back to the beginning here. Um, I think it might just be him. I have that issue in my hand here, so I can.
Because that's a badass, like the color. I love the colors on that too, especially once they get into that transporter thing.
Yeah,
Really
it's just
nice.
art, and then there's a design is by Third Eye Studio. Oh, and it's lettered by John Workman, the great John Workman, who also
Oh, yeah, yeah. Great artist.
edited heavy metal for a while and is really great cartoonist of his own.
Yeah, yeah.
And this I really liked in kind of the idea of shorthand. Like it looks to me like those top three panels that they're not even redrawing them, that they're just re re zooming in on the stuff from the first page here.
That could be. I
Because
I
I
yeah,
think that
I
the
really like that though. That face at the top right has a Moebius vibe to it, and then you've got the really Moebius next two panels with that hat.
yeah, definitely. It definitely has this like European, and so it's here on the bottom of the left page is him tattooing himself, like I mentioned. He just has like a heat pen that he.
Oh, it's like a he that's a pattern he's burning on, or is it like a rub on?
Yeah, I think it's an actual tattoo, but he says I peeled a decal from my wallet and using a heat pen cooked myself.
Okay.
Oh, he cooks himself a battle scar.
Yeah, so he's doing like burning, scarring. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Branding.
and visits a guy, and he's like, "Oh, you're a veteran," because he's just lying about it.
And all the color in those screen. Oh shit, that's an amazing page.
Oh yeah, this is a fantastic spread.
Wow.
So this is a guy gets eaten by piranhas on a previous scene, and she swims down and grabs something out of him.
This feels like something that J.H. Williams would do
It does have
almost.
that. It does have that incredibly technically competent, and then playing with the design. I saw the new Wonder Woman's coming out now, and that owes a lot to JH.
That's like the absolute one.
Yeah,
That's a good book.
it
That's
was
a
in the
really
comic
good
store,
book.
and I was looking through it. And I was like, I hope JH is getting a check from this guy.
You should read it though. It's that is a really interesting one actually. But yeah, this looks like it, and it's got that same rhythmic like waveform where it's kind of going across the page, which is something JH does a lot. Like the character will kind of create a wave shape across the page. And then he's using those like on this page, he's using those crazy stairs going up the tree and
Yeah,
like
that's really
bending
cool.
the tree to create different, yeah, that god damn.
I love
I've
how he
never
does
heard of
the
this.
five from the second and third. Yeah, it was only a two issue series, and the second issue, the setup is so fantastic, and then the second issue feels like it's doing a lot of work to try to make it all make sense. When
Mm.
I almost felt like leaving it open ended is better, but
Is
this definitely.
the art's still this good throughout though? Like why
Yeah,
has this guy not done more books? What the hell?
everything I've seen by this guy, like the Dread Star issues he did, are fantastic. Like all of his work looks like this. I think
He's
it was
probably just too good.
my theory is this. I mean, this came out in 1991, which I often think of. It's funny to say it now, but in 1991, I thought of it as a very dark time for comics, which now I look
Yeah.
back on it very fondly because it was really like if you're doing mainstream work around then and you weren't drawing in the kind of image Liefeld house style, then you weren't going to get work.
Yeah, and for someone like this, like this is a lot of time and effort and craft going into this, and then like not getting the work or not getting paid well and watching those other guys like burning through them. I could see why someone like this would be just like, this isn't the place for me anymore. That's unfortunate because that top left panel and the way
Yeah,
with the way they're going from like the black and white, then again to not using line and they're just going down to color, uh, as it goes down into like the water or whatever's in there, or they're yeah, it looks like the
yeah,
buildings are going into the water. That's so beautiful.
yeah, and just the girl in the suitcase on the bottom panel. A
It's
cool way
crazy.
to draw something like it looks like the guy's understanding of anatomy is really impressive.
And it doesn't look like with well, I mean JH, I always thought he was taking photographs, but he's not. This guy, you can tell he's not taking photographs. He's just good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Hard on. What's that?
that was the Otomo stuff that we were talking about in the other
Oh,
video.
okay. Yeah, that we were talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, really beautiful stuff.
Oh man. Yes. So this is where the channel always winds up. driving me absolutely crazy is yeah, now I want to see this. And you know that there's so much stuff like this out there that you've never even heard of. Like never heard of this, never heard of. Actually, it's funny you mentioned Wonder Woman because I think that artist's name is Hayden Sherman.
Uh, yeah, because
Interesting.
I think that's one of the funnest things about being a fan of comics is how much um, unexplored, interesting stories are there. Because it's like there's only so many movies. Like movies take a gazillion dollars to to make, and with comics, like something like you're not gonna find a better drawn comic than Ike Garuda. It's like really well drawn and really well written, and most people have no idea what it is.
Yeah, and this is crazy. And to think about how much of that there is with only about 100 some odd year history too.
Yeah, there's a really beautiful end page for it. Just looking at the
Those are
woman's skirt above him in a science fiction elevator.
well, the midget bellhop would recognize her.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really fantastic series. I'll try to dig out some more James Sherman books to show at some point because his art's great. But yeah, I think he was kind of a workman cartoonist. I don't know if he ever did his own work. I always saw him on other people's books. So maybe
Well, James Sherman, if he ever comes across this video and still has one last graphic novel in him, God, I would love to see more of that. Yeah, that's beautiful stuff. Well, thank you, Brandon. Always making me realize how many things out there I've never seen and setting off my OCD desire to try and find it all. And then I'm just gonna have to go and accept that I can't.
that seemed to be. I watched your Year in the End, the best of the year comics, and I was like, I've heard of two of these.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean, and we're both constantly, I mean, you and Casey go by boatloads of books and you're always constantly getting stuff. And I feel like I'm always like looking, like I look so many places to make sure I see it all. And we make it through a year hardly having read any of the same stuff.
certainly, yeah, yeah. I think it's cool.
Yeah, super. So, well, people keep hitting us up with other things we should be looking at, and I know Brandon's got a badass stash of other things that we're all going to be jealous about eventually.
Oh yeah, I've got lots of weird comics from the. I've got a stack of things I need to scan so we can talk about them.
All right. Well, I look forward to it, and thank you everyone for hanging out with us. Take it easy.